Yep.
So we're all here. We have a quorum. The first thing on our agenda would be to approve the meeting minutes. I think last time we missed notes for some reason. That's not right. I have them on here. So could I have a motion to approve the June 10th notes?
Motion to approve.
Who said that? I missed it.
Andy.
Oh, Andy, thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Samantha seconded.
Second.
Thank you, Samantha. I guess we'll do a roll call vote for approval. I'll just go here.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear it.
Now all I can see is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
So, Margaret, did you vote? Yes?
No.
No? Okay. Andy voted in favor. John?
Yes.
Thank you. Tom DePercio?
Yes.
Tom Abel?
Yes.
Thank you. Samantha, obviously, yes, because she seconded. WC, I forgot who not a voting member, and that's five. Excellent. So all in favor. Thank you. The next item on there, I'm sorry, I'm going different screens here. The next thing up on our agenda, I think, is probably going to talk about is there anything director's update? Do you have anything to add, Margaret?
Just wanted to say that since we last met, we've been working with the team on design development. We had a session where we talked about some of the service desks that will be custom-made, circulation desk, which is the main desk at entry, and the reference desk. We also had a session where we reviewed where we stand with the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, consultants. Our consultant, her name is Andrea Bunker, and she gave us lots of really good feedback. And I just wanted to make note, there was an article in the paper recently that was not accurate, that we got a lot of calls about the project. And just to clarify that it was in the Metro West Daily News, and it made it seem like we were moving right away.
Right.
So there were some points that were missed, and so we've been getting a lot of calls about, do I return my books at the Walker Building or at 35 West Main? So I've tried to clarify it, but we're just telling people that when the city decides on when we go up to bid for construction, that we'll plan our move to the Walker Building. Those things are kind of connected. So if you hear anything about people misunderstanding, I think it's based a lot on that article. And I know MEDC reposted it, and I wrote a clarification comment to try to get people to understand that we're really not moving anytime soon. We don't know yet when we're moving. So if anybody asks you, I think that's where the misunderstanding comes from.
And I know for sure you're going to well advertise it well in advance.
Yes, certainly. So. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yep. So the next item on the agendas are to review the cost estimates and to review the project budget. I think I'm going to kind of do a twofer. I'll take everybody through the budget, which the cost estimate is part of it. I'm going to share my, I can't share my screen. Huh.
You
can. Want me to share mine?
Give me 1 moment.
Can the organizer give me permiso?
Certainly.
Thank you. One moment, please. Oh, there we go. How exciting. There we go. There's my exciting screen, right? Yeah. I sent this out earlier. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it, but I'll just run through this quick. I will say, as I said a little bit earlier, spoiler alert, we are on budget. So that's all good. And this is all based on, I know, yay. This is all based on the reconciled DD estimate. We spent yesterday afternoon and this morning reconciling the estimate. So this includes the estimate, the estimate of record, which is the architect's estimator. For construction only, their estimate came in at 18.4 million. And Daedalus, our office, Daedalus CHA also did an estimate, and ours came in at 18.6. So they're very close. So so that is a good thing.
That's a good.
So just so the columns, the headers are going to go away on this, but the columns are the NBC eligible costs, which means we can get reimbursed up to a percentage of this column. Non-eligible costs, just the MBLC says, no, we're not going to reimburse you for any of this. And so project budget column is the previous two columns added. Oh, I have the wrong one. And there's paid to date. The one I sent to you also had balance to finish. I can pull that one up, but you all have the balance to finish. That's not what I'm focusing on tonight, but you have that version. I apparently stored the old one. So first is the category quickly is administration, which is owner's project manager, and well, this is the wrong, let me get the right one. This isn't, oops, this isn't the right, the owner's project manager, which is our fee. We are very much on, we've only billed through DD for that so far, and what we expect to happen is both our office and the architects are going to bill through construction documents, and then the project obviously goes on hold temporarily until the mayor says we have permission to proceed. So this is the correct version that has shows that we've billed 85. Oh, I did math over here, so there you go. That's not helpful, but anyway, everywhere else I did it. And so we'll stop billing at this line right here and when it goes on hold. So these items won't be billed. We'll bill up through construction, probably 95%. So of the 60,000, I expect my office will bill 50,000 or 55,000 of that, just so when we come off hold, there'll be a little bit of work to get it out to bid. Okay. Advertising and printing, I was saying that's going to cost to host bidding during the bidding process, to post it on the internet, and also you have to pay for when sub-bidders want prints to be able to do the thing, you have to pay for that printing. Those costs are associated with the builder's risk. We've requested a quote from the insurance company, but this number is very much in the ballpark. That's approximately what I would expect it to cost, is the $26,000 and change, $27,000. That's about it. And it's whether the city of Marlborough prefers to pay it, but sometimes it's carried by the contractor. It doesn't matter as long as it's carried. Architect's fee here for schematic design, DD, the DD redesigned with a typo in it, sorry, and which includes when we had to sort of step back and do a little, when we re-looked at the entrance and things like that. They've billed this much, this is what you have to remain, stuff like that. They're going to, I would expect this month to finish billing out design development and this amendment 3 of the redo of DD. There's some other, and again, the rest of this stuff, except for some reimbursables, they will not bill until we come off hold. What is that? Oh, oh, I know what it is. It's the, it is a scramble. It's because the MBLC does not allow reimbursement on these items. Anything essentially for the MBLC, there are two things. If you can pick up the building and shake it, they won't pay for anything that falls out, and anything that you can scrape off the outside, like benches and things like that, what they call site improvements. Whatever reason, the MBLC has fairly arbitrarily decided that they will not pay for those reimbursements. So that's blacked out, so we just know that the MBLC won't pay those categories. But all the items in this category were set in the budget back in 2017 and I have escalated these numbers. Cost estimating helped me go from 2017 until September of 21, a little bit more than a year from now. So all those original budget numbers I have increased to reflect. We had to pick a point. We're picking September, a year and plus from now, September of 21, as to when we'll go out to bid. Okay, so all these numbers have been escalated. They were originally, those were the original budget items, just brought to current time, if that makes sense to everybody. Okay. And similar with the hazardous material, we had an estimate on how much it will cost to remove all the hazardous materials out of the library. Same report, nothing's changed except I escalated the pricing. And with the, for the two houses that were taken down, there was 49 Main and 28, which were taken down. This 5,300, whatever, is the actual number. So we know that, and that's been paid. The next number for the other two houses, I just took the price of two houses equals two houses, right? I don't know, and then escalated it to next fall. I don't have anything else to go on, so that seems, I'm just telling you my thinking. Two houses equals two houses. And the same for the demolition. The demolition of the library is included in the construction cost. The demolition of 49 Main and 28 Witherby, we know as a fact that bill has been paid for 79 and change. So again, I took two houses equals two houses, took that number and escalated it next fall. You guys with me? Now the next one, don't have a heart attack. Witherby parking lot. That's for the two houses across, the 25 and 29 Witherby. After they've been demolished, those two sites are going to be surveyed by the city, and then it needs to be designed as a parking lot, and it has to have site lighting and paving and curbing. I don't know what that cost is. Not $1 million, but I can't tell you how much less it's going to be. So we're putting $1 million in there to be safe. I really don't think it's going to be that much, but until we have facts, until we have a survey, until we have a design and can estimate it, which we're hoping is going to happen in the next couple of months, till then, we're putting $1 million in it.
We'll need to do drainage in there.
Yep.
All of
Drainage,
that
retention,
stuff.
probably. So
Lots of stuff.
that's, I mean, it sounds simple, but so we're just erring on the side of caution and putting a cool $1 million there. And also, I don't know when it's going to happen. So if we have still a couple unknowns in here. Another thing, so here is the building. All the estimate boils down to these three lines essentially. And there's the 13.8 million that are eligible costs from the MBLC, and they won't pay for the stuff that's on top, the site improvements, which in the estimate is considered Division 32. Don't worry too much about that. That's a 966. And then burdens and markup that on those items come for a subtotal. We're carrying a contingent design and estimating contingency of 5% at this time. This will roll up when 5% is things that are still not drawn, still not known. That will just be absorbed into the construction costs as more facts get put on the drawings. Stuff comes out of the design contingency and goes into the fact pile of the drawings. Does that make sense? So it's real. It's not like there's a maybe of 700. We just don't know which category to put it in because it hasn't been drawn yet. Okay. And again, escalating it all to next fall. So of the construction category, we're looking at 19.7. And like I said, for just the building on this is from the front page summary of the estimate, which we'll put in Dropbox for anybody who wants to look at all this
Go
stuff.
through the 43 pages of.
Yeah, be sure to get a big tall glass of water. It's a little dry. Okay, I'm just telling you. I'm giving you the short, sweet, scenic view. But this is the 18.4. These are burdens and markups I talked about, the design and escalation, construction, and then there's detail for each thing, each item. If I just randomly pick a page here so you can see that the children's program room, there's a counter, there's a base cabinet, a wall cabinet, and we've assigned costs for each thing. at the circulation workroom. There's a rock counter, a stainless, solid surface counter, base cap, so each thing gets called out. So there's quite a bit of detail in there. So that's what we're looking at for construction. The next is sort of the miscellaneous project costs are in here. Surveys by the city. Commissioning agent, we do have, our commissioning agent is Sims Maney McKee. They did give us a proposal. They are under contract with the city. They did review their DD drawings and have already sent their drawings back to the architects to consider in their design. So we have them under.
You said their drawing. They
Oh.
viewed and we've submitted their comments on the drawings.
I apologize. Yep, their comments have already been submitted back, so that's good. And then there's some IT counseling, some construction testing, hazardous material monitoring, because when the library comes down, someone has to kind of supervise them and make sure it's all done legally. You have to have this monitor legally as well. Some geotech borings, we're just leaving some money there in case we need to do more exploration, which we may very well do. Lead moving expenses, some temporary money for temporary quarters in case Margaret gets over there and realizes she needs whatever to get through the next 2 years. She has some money to spend to make sure that the library is set up just so. Some utility back charges. Here's an unknown, but it's the utility company rebates. We have been working with Eversource. We did have a design charrette with them. They will not tell us what kind of rebates they're offering until they review the construction documents. But they should be able to tell us what our rebates are. We're working with them to get rebates. We will get rebates. We just don't know what they are yet. So that's an unknown in our favor. We should get a credit back for that. Could be 10,000 to 50,000. It depends what it is. They're kind of quirky. It depends on the program time, but it's money. It's not let's go to the Bahamas money, but it's money. And then I've just put like miscellaneous. I've put $30,000 in there because surprises happen. And then there's an owner's contingency because we don't know when we're starting. There's still a lot of unknowns. But what I want to show is this more interesting part. Again, this is the project budget, which is a reimbursable, not reimbursable, total project budget, right? This was what was submitted in 2017. And what's most important is this number here, what the city council approved. City council approved $20.7 million. They approved 23.7. Oh my God, that's dyslexia. 23.
You took $3 million out.
Hey, sorry about that. $23.780 million. So if we compare it to where we are right now, the total fee, we're at 26, but it was intended to come out of this column. I believe that the intent is that city council would pay for the reimbursable column, the 23, and then the non-reimbursed things that it would be hoped that the foundation, fundraising, things like that would contribute heavily to this column.
Right.
So if you say that what city council would approve is the 23.7 million, we're just a whisker under that. So that's all good. So we're on, for the most part, we're on budget with a whisker under. And then our grant, the 10.1 from MBLC is never going to, I say never going to change. We can get more money if we're lead, but this is a 10, they're just going to give us $10 million. So we're still standing at that the city has to come up with 13.4. Does that all make sense? Oh, good. There you go.
Questions?
That was budget at a blast. There were a couple things in the estimate I wanted to talk about. One was we decided in reconciliation that we added an extra $100,000 for ledge removal, just as a buffer, because apparently it's just the grace of God that all projects in Marlborough have ledge removal. So even though we did borings and we poked around in the corner of the building where we think, and we only hit small amounts, we think that ledge is really sneaky and is waiting for us.
right now, based on the borings and the elevations, we would only have to remove ledge in the elevator pit. Based on my experience in the city, I pushed hard that we should have more dollars in there.
That's a good call.
You think so?
And you know, we can, Tom and I were talking that once we're into construction, we have the bids in and the project's out of the ground, we'll feel a little more comfortable about saying that we're under budget.
Right.
But right now we're pretty much on budget. Okay.
Yep.
There was another issue we wanted to talk about, which was the historic window. Mallory.
I want to go back to the ledge just for a second, because I want to get Tom and Andy's input a little bit here. We're estimating that we'll have to do ledge removal in about 1/3 of the building footprint with that additional monies that we put in. So we know based on borings that it's the elevator sump. I bumped it up to, let's call it, 1/3 of the foundation footprint. That sound, I mean, we're throwing darts at a wall here, but just kind of a gut from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you can count on there being some ledge.
Yeah.
That's probably a good
Absolutely.
stab at it.
The estimator said that even if everywhere we're building.
I mean, there is no place that we did.
Yeah. No, it's okay. The estimator said that if we were to remove everything where we're building new, that would be $300,000 of ledge removal. So we decided to go with worst case 1/3 because our boring information isn't leading us to that, but we would err on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Okay. The other thing I had started was the historic window. Mallory, did you want to talk about the historic window for a little bit?
I can do that one. Yep. Are you done with your screen share? Or
I am. I think I turned it off, didn't I?
Oh, you did. You did.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna share mine.
Okay.
Hold on.
We also, while Valerie's doing that, we also included new sanitary, new storm, and new water services into the building.
And a new fire hydrant.
And a hydrant on the property, Tom, on the West Main Street side.
Right.
Okay, good.
I'm sort of trying to get a good picture without digging into my pictures, but I just want to start with this. You can all see the Google view. It's nice that you have such nice trees, but so I just sort of want to talk about this lower West Main view in relation to where Alicia just stopped. As you guys know, the 68 edition sort of engulfs that side, the east side of the elevation, and we're tearing all of this down and sort of pushing the building back, and our intent was and has always been to restore this side. And we were very lucky to be able to get into the ceiling of the Carnegie building, and you've got some beautiful mahogany trim above a lot of the Palladian windows here, but we weren't fortunate enough to see much of that east elevation Palladian window intact. It's unfortunate, but they did a pretty messy job of adding that addition on. There's a couple of steel beams in the way. And I'm actually going to flip over to the elevation just so you guys know where I'm talking about. This is the east elevation, the new elevation. And unfortunately, a lot of the coining and the limestone plaster has been damaged. I know that these Corinthian column caps are no longer there anymore. None of the windows are obviously there. And they did a pretty poor job of tying in the the 60s edition roof into the building. So there's actually a lot more work on this facade than we ever anticipated. So because of that, and in the SD estimate, we were holding like about $50,000 to like restore this window, for the exterior and the interior trim, but we've since bumped that up to $250,000 in this new estimate, just because of the amount of damage that we found and uncovered there, which is unfortunate. And again, that number is again a little bit of a dart against a wall, that we feel like that's sufficient at this point to be able to completely reconstruct this area. But if it's not, we'll have to talk sort of about a couple of options, if you don't feel comfortable spending such a large amount of money, which I don't think anyone ever anticipated spending. And just to let you know, that's in addition to other money. I'd probably say in and about, I don't know, if I were to tally very quickly in my head, maybe about another 75,000 in repairs throughout the rest of the Carnegie, maybe 50. So that's spending about
Just the
3 to
exterior,
325 on the exterior of the building, between cleaning, redoing some of the fascias that are damaged, cleaning up the slate. I think it does also actually include rebuilding those historic fireplaces. So I think that's more than we had originally anticipated on the Carnegie building, but I think we feel it's important, and we sort of want to gauge your idea of what you guys feel is important, because the alternates are going in with materials that are more of a modern age. And I just want to put it out there to sort of tamper expectations that in no scenario will we build a perfectly matching window, just because the construction of today is not the same that it was when this was built. People don't even use the same materials, so they're not crafted and skilled in those materials. So it is going to look a little bit different, but we can do our best to mimic that and copy that, but using modern materials of today.
Right. So this is not what Mallory just described, is not a historic restoration of museum type quality where you'd bring back all of the original materials. It's using modern materials to look as close as possible to what the existing materials were. If we were to try and do the historic restoration, then I think that number needs to go to $1 million.
Right. We wouldn't put in a single pane leaded glass window, which is probably what's drawn. We would want a modern performing window, for example.
But the limestone, and the granite, like those materials will not be the true historic materials to replace it, as we just described. Modern materials that will look to match and mimic what was there originally.
And the alternate is, if you guys, some people feel like if we can't do the property right by completely restoring it back to its old way, aka putting in that $1 million, the other option would be to not try to replicate it, and we would go back and try to redesign something. However, I just want to sort of quickly jump back to the floor plan. I'm sorry, that's a floor plan. Let me go to the furniture plan you guys are sort of used to seeing. Actually, let me just go to this rendered one. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. So what we would hate to sort of see is us re-engaging with this wall, because it's sort of getting you back to where you are right now, where the Carnegie is sort of covered up again and it's crowding the Carnegie, whereas right now we're taking back away some of that addition to put back some of the respect that we feel like is important. So with that being said, if we were to keep this open and we didn't feel it was appropriate to try to mimic it with modern materials because it's not going to be 100% match, then we'd have to go back and redesign something that would fit, but would definitely acknowledge the fact that it's a deviation from the historic nature of what it once used to be. And so this is in the new plan, the young adults zone. So that's that area.
So, Mallory, a couple of questions. One is that, first of all, we should not spend $1 million on a window. This is a public building and it has a public purpose. So I think a number of people on this call will agree with that.
As a taxpayer, I agree.
Yeah. So my question would be, to come up with a design that's reasonable, that's durable in the spirit of the original design, but also to plan to have a plate next to the window on the interior acknowledging as much, so that if you have someone who cares enough who comes in and says, what were they thinking, that there's something here saying, the original window was destroyed, and this is a design in the spirit of the original window, but something like that. I think a little bit of as much as people don't read signs, I think it would actually be a nice little nod to the work that's being done if something like that happened. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes a lot. That's a great idea, Samantha.
And if we took and I think once we'd start with demo, we'd have some great photographs to say, look what we found, and this is what we did with it. And sort of document the history of it, I think would be a nice story.
Right.
From the outside of the building, someone's going to look at it and say, why did they do that? But the people who care who are inside the building will go and look and see, and that would make a difference.
Mm-hmm. So one question, I think that's a great idea as well. When you say that, do you feel comfortable recreating the window with modern materials, or do you feel like it would be better as sort of a modern interpretation of that window?
It'd be nice to see some drawings, but an interpretation would be good, but an exact replica, because here's the thing, replicas always look fake. So they never actually look like the original. So why try? I mean, it's better to do something a little bit intrepid, inspiring. But yeah.
One thing I would say, and I whatever you guys want to do is 100,000% fine with LLB. One thing I would say is, and I could pull up the photo I had shown everyone during our reconciliation meetings to point this out, was there's some pretty significant damage to the limestone and honestly straight across the building where that 60s edition does tie in. I do think maybe we take a look at it and sort of piece it apart and say, this is an area that's important to actually restore because it's almost all the way there. Whereas maybe the window and the Corinthian columns and the Palladian window is something where we can do an interpretation and something maybe a little bit different.
Well, Mallory, could we do two things? Could we do that, but also at the same time, based on the photo documentation that you have of the rest of the Carnegie, can you look and see what modern materials we could get and see how close we can get to what's there?
Definitely.
And maybe even for our August meeting, if you can have some samples of the materials, then we can put them one against the other on the building and say, okay, this is where it's going to look different. This is where it's going to look virtually the same or not. I think it'll just give everybody a better sense of how close we can get, or conversely, how far away it's going to be.
Right. That's a good idea. And then we can sort of kick this decision down the line a little bit until we know a little bit more of what is out there and available to rebuild this area.
Right. Because I do agree with Samantha. If it's, we don't want to be close, but no cigar.
Right.
You know, if we're getting there, then let's just make it different. But if we got something that, you know, unless you really study it and really look at it, you really won't notice the difference, because this is all pretty much on one facade, and it's not until you turn the corner do you see the difference.
Yes. You
Well,
won't
that's where
see it
I would
side
like
by
to.
side.
Right.
No, I would vehemently oppose to that opinion, because that main, I'm going to go back to Google. That main view is not like you see one side and then you turn the corner. It's very much like you see this building as an axon. You see both sides
Yeah,
together.
true.
You see two sides, but you don't see
Right.
the two Palladian windows at once.
I think you definitely will. So okay, I wish this tree wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, that's
What
down.
tree?
This one.
Now we know something about you.
And then, no.
Valerie hates trees.
I think you will see them, but you're right. To the degree that you can tell they're actually different materials, I can't say until I see what's
Right.
actually available. And
Right, that's what I
to
mean.
be very honest, I've never done a project that needed this limestone material. So there's some research that we've got to do, because when you're here and you actually look up and you're like right up close to it, it's this grooved material that chips apart. It's almost like it looks like it was cast, but it's not. And it's
No,
this.
in the end, the limestone, you can still get it. It might be something that you mimic in coloration, but not the detailing. I think there's a couple ways to solve it in a respectful manner,
Mhm.
and not try and mimic it too much.
So let's start there with the with the samples and seeing what's available modern material wise, and seeing how hard that is before we really make a decision on this. I think it would still be a good idea to hold that. I think that what we were hoping you guys to tell us was, yes, it's okay to hold that 250 for now, was where we were hoping this was going, and not we want to dump $1 million into this.
I think that
I think $250,000 is a lot of money. $250,000 is a lot of money. We should be able to do a lot with it. And if it's a mess, we'd like to fix it, obviously.
I think what I'm hearing, Mallory, is they want to see options to understand what aesthetically is going to work.
Yeah.
And then we can try to estimate best we can what it's going to cost to try to achieve. And we think 250, for what we're hearing, 250 is going to be high. But let's understand what the look is. We want to make sure it works. We're not going to put a fiberglass framed, single pane double sash window in there or something. It's got to be a big celebrated window of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you are gonna have to do a little bit more work and options, and we can help you with the pricing.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. The good news is I just worked with a really nice custom wood window manufacturer, and we were able to create every single frame custom, and they did a gorgeous job. So I don't think we'll have a problem finding someone to do this. And pricing wise, I think we would, if you decide to do that 250 route, it should be good. But so that's good.
The operable window part is a little bit of a simpler than the surround, I think.
Right. So we'll talk about this more, I think later on, and more in detail as far as like, do we want to go in again with single pane, or even though it is single pane, or do we want double pane, even though it's going to be the only double pane in that room, so it might not even make sense energy wise. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So that was that one item. Alicia, before I get into the rest of the items I was going to review, did you have anything else?
No, I don't know when we want to try to. It just crossed my mind if we want to vote on the DD budget and stuff, as we are on budget, to give LLB permission to proceed with CDs?
Yes, I think you should. If the committee is ready to do that, I think that is a formal step that should be taken.
Okay, vote to approve DD budget. Could I have a motion, please?
I just ask a question real quick.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So when you talked about the total cost in each column, you said, I believe this is what the city council, their vote of 23.7 million was the eligible cost only. Did Margaret confirm that? Because I'm not sure.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
She was nodding along when I
Okay.
was saying that was the city council approved that with the hope and understanding that the foundation would do the lifting for the other column.
Right.
Which
Okay.
of the 2.4, they've already done 500,000, so that they're off to a good start.
Great.
That's a strong start. So
Okay. Then I'll make the motion to approve.
thank you. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Who was-
Andy.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna do a roll call. I gotta change my screen a little bit. Roll call. I'm gonna go down my list here. Catherine.
Tom.
No, Tom. Sorry. Well, I'm reading the thing. I'm sorry, Tom.
Sorry. Yeah, I made the motion, so yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. Gosh, you guys.
And
All right.
you want me to do it for you so you can
Oh,
keep.
it's out. No, by Tom, by all means, I can read and take notes.
Okay.
We got Andy.
I seconded. Yeah.
Oh, good golly. Dennis is a guest.
No.
Dennis here?
Dennis is a guest.
We
No,
we don't have Dennis.
No?
Okay.
Dennis is not here.
No.
Okay. John Irish,
Yes.
Samantha,
Yes.
and Tom Abel.
Yes.
I think that's everybody. Thank you very much. All in favor. All right. You can move on now, Mallory. It's on you.
Okay. So we just sort of wanted to, review, like we always do, the plan, just to start. Margaret had asked if we had updated floor plan renderings, which we realized we didn't. So we want to show those to you guys, pretty much the same. What you will notice, though, is that we've started, and Margaret sort of gave you a preview of this. We started zoning in on some of the areas that I'm going to give you a quick preview of, as well as, and just graphically follow up what she's talked about. So we were able to get through some of the design for the young adults area, and I'll go to some graphics for that. We were able to get into some design for the courtyard and the stairs and how that translates into the interior stair. And then we were able to talk about the desk. So in specific, the reference desk, which is here on the first floor, and also the main circulation desk, which is upstairs. So does anyone want to talk about floor plan or program, or have any other questions before I breeze through that? Nothing has changed programmatically since the last 5 meetings, but we can certainly go over it again. I don't want to bore you if you remember it all. We're good. I think we're good on that.
I think we're good.
Okay. All right, and so then upstairs, this looks like an explosion of color, but we've really zoned in this past month on designing the children's space, which is this whole wing on the right-hand side, and then again, the circulation desk. And so how that connects design-wise to the stair and also the reference desk downstairs. So these were some of those areas that we wanted to sort of zoom in on, because they're big program areas within the building, and great areas and opportunity for design. So I want to go back and sort of start on the reference desk on the first floor. I'm showing you the reference desk because I haven't updated the graphics yet for the circulation desk, but it would look very similar. And so what we want to pick up, and I'm going to point out, is sort of just the general geographic form of it. And we're still working on the actual materials and some of the dimensions. So most of the or both of these desks, whether it's upstairs or down here, will have a high portion, and that would be a solid surface material and sort of like this solid block, which is why it's sort of painted right now gray. And then it'll say whether it's the reference desk or whether it's the circulation desk, just to get some wayfinding to patrons in the area, or that might be on this level. And so this desk is at standing height, which is really comfortable for not only patrons who are doing transactions always standing, but also for staff members who like to either sit and stand, which we have both in this design. On the left-hand side here, we've got an ADA accessible portion, and that's not only for patrons, but it's also ADA accessible for staff members that may be in a wheelchair, or anyone who wants to just be sitting down. This is a really comfortable sitting height. This sitting height will then turn into not a shelf system, but I mean, it is sort of a shelf. It was originally designed as a shelf, but we've since eliminated that display area. We thought it would be a little bit too cumbersome, but we're still going to keep this piece that wraps around and keep it as like a personal holdings shelf for patrons. So like if I can only think of a woman, I'm sorry guys, but if a woman were to come up and had their huge bag with them that, you know, holds everything in the world, they can just sort of plop this on this shelf, and so that they don't have to put it on the ground and it be behind them or next to their legs or whatnot. So this is sort of just an area to lay things for rest while they're talking to a staff member. On the other side of this desk that I don't have an image of is a consultation area. And again, it's at that sitting height, that in-between height. So basically, the takeaway from this is that there's two materials and two heights for both the reference desk and the main desk. There will be a standing height and a sitting slash ADA height. And then that sitting height would act as the ADA area and an area to put personal belongings. And so we're working with Margaret and her staff right now to get those widths appropriate so that they feel safe enough during periods of social distancing. But we made the cognizant decision that any additional COVID precautions, such as plexiglass or actual shields between the staff and patrons, would be something that is temporary and removable, but the actual architecture would be designed so that it can easily have, like, if we have clips on the front, and it would look built in. So for example, the counter would have a lip so that you can just clamp the plexiglass on top, but it'll be able to be removed at some point or another when ideally, hopefully, we won't need those types of separations between the two entities or for transactions. So the upstairs desk looks very similar. That one will need a little bit more updating, so I wasn't going to show you that image, but if anyone had any comments or questions about that.
And this one, you're going to put wheels on, right, Mallory?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm sorry. One more thing. All of the desks will be mobile, so meaning that they can move. There's really, like, in the future, if they want to be moved or shifted apart, they will be mobile. Yep.
So, Margaret, I wasn't hearing from MBLC that it needed to have wheels, but that this reference desk, as an example, would be built modularly so that the pieces could be taken apart and reconfigured, or like that, I'll use that front shelf area as an example, would not necessarily be fixed in such a fashion to the stone material.
That's correct.
So it doesn't have to be wheelable,
right,
but it has to be movable.
Right.
So let me zoom in on the plan. If you were to, this is that plan, and this was an image if you were standing here looking, oops. If you were standing here looking at the entry, looking towards this desk.
Right.
And so what you see here is that low portion, and then this other low portion and this high portion. So internally, after we talked to the MBLC, what we had reviewed was that we'd have sort of 3 or 4 pieces. Like this 88 portion would be its own entity. We'd have this high desk as its own and block as its own entity. And then we were talking briefly about this, whether we want this shelf to be its own entity, and then it ties into this shelf. That portion's a little bit up in the air right now, but this is a way that we thought it would be easily broken down into pieces. And we can go back, Margaret, and talk to you about whether it really needs to be on wheels or just, like Tom mentioned, of a modular state.
Okay.
So with that being said, I'm just gonna give you a preview of like the floor plan, but it's gonna tweak. This was.
Mallory, I do have a question about ADA
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
So with respect to the reference desk, I see that it's ADA compliant for patrons, but is there regulation as far as being ADA compliant for employees? So
Yes.
would the ADA, so would that ADA component piece up there be where if somebody needed it, they could work from that space as
Yep.
well?
Exactly. So this is of a specific depth. So if you were in a wheelchair for front reach, meaning like if you were to pull up to a desk, you need 19 or 17, 1'7". That's 19. No, that's not 19. You need 19 inches of
Yeah, 12 is 19.
Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm really bad at math. That's bad. You need 19. Everyone thinks you need to be really good to be an architect. I'm not. I used to be a calculus person, but no more. Anyway, we have the 19 inches. This is a perfect example, like my generation, why you shouldn't allow like those calculators for everything, because we can't do anything in our head. So you've got 19 inches for a patron, and then we have a partition that's supporting this, but then you've also got 19 inches for a staff member. So yeah, so that's doing double duty, but triple duty is that with this wall here, it's not just sort of open, and you know how sometimes like people might, staff members might put a book cart back here or something on the floor, or like a milk cart with some books. It does, they don't see that sort of mess, So that's a design that we've used in other libraries and has been very successful, and we've gotten feedback that it's actually a good, comfortable working height too. So if someone got tired of like working in either standing or in one of those chairs that is really high, they can just easily shift to this area or this area.
Okay.
Great question. So that same concept is going to be applied to the circulation desk upstairs. It was a little bit different in this one, where the low piece was sort of tweaked to sort of allow entry and sort of greet patrons as they're coming in, but we decided and the staff decided that the angle between the two was a little bit too aggressive in creating too much distance between the patron and the staff member. So we're going to revise that, and it probably would be a square symmetry here, and it'd be very similar to downstairs. So it's speaking that same design language, if you will. This desk, unlike the desk downstairs, will have like a pamphlet area incorporated into the desk, so that if the staff wants to put out pamphlets as far as circulation or what's happening, that will have its own home on the desk, as opposed to just sort of them having to go out and get a one of those like plastic pamphlet holders at the end of the project. So it's important for us to be able to build that in now. We love everything organized, So those are the desks. And then if everyone feels okay with that, I'm going to move on to the design of the young adults room just very quickly.
I wanted to just say about the circulation desk that for us, it's really important because that's where children will check out. So that lower piece, which is at the entrance, is where we'll greet children and where they'll check out if they don't want to check out self-check wise. But that lower piece is really important to us to welcome people and especially children.
And honestly, once this sort of straightens out and becomes like an L shape or like an L shape like this, we'll probably have enough to do like a return here so that that shorter piece will become a little bit bigger. Or maybe, you know, it'll be that zone so that you're still getting to see who's coming in the vestibule, but we want to keep it far enough this way that you can still a staff member can still look all the way down the hallway to be able to monitor that area.
Yep.
Great. So young adults is just going to be a funky, fun space where we think young adults could go, where they don't feel like children. They're outside of the children's room. They're separated from the children's room. And we had gotten Pinterest boards, thankfully, from the young adults librarian and the children's librarian. And so in the young adults librarian's Pinterest board, there are a lot of geometric shapes and a lot of cool colors, which is how we came to this idea and this scheme. And so one thing that was sort of nudging at us meaning LLB designers when we were at the office, is that, you know, you look at the space and it looks like one rectangle and then it looks like another rectangle. But what we really wanted to do was make this one large space and really pull those two spaces together. So we sort of tried to open this up and tie them together with the use of soffits. So I'm going to show you a view as if you were standing right from the entry and you're looking out towards West Main. So that is this view. And as you can see, we've got really low, I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger. We've got really low stacks here for really great visibility. 3 high is the shortest stack height you can do. Really great because they can be mobile stacks and you can rearrange a space. And then if you can see, we have the floor geometric pattern that's sort of mimicked on the soffits. And we have these soffits that are really great. They're very geometric and contoured, and they change in height, and they sort of, you know, pull your eye into that West Main Street corner as they sort of guide you into that space. And then on the underside, it's a little bit difficult to see, but there's some strip lighting on the underside to sort of shine on these coves. In this cove, we have the computer nook and the computer bar with some light there. And then on the back nook, we have the librarian's station back here. And then these are the workroom and the librarian's office back here. So the other really great thing about this with the short desks is that if I were to turn around in this space and go back out the door, the reference desk is right there. So keeping these desks short and sort of trying to keep this space open makes it so that if there wasn't a young adults librarian, you know, on 24/7 whenever the library is open, the person at the reference desk just has to sort of turn around and sort of can monitor that area, because there's glass here and then there's glass on that side wall. So you can actually, it doesn't look like it, but you can see right through this into that nook. It's very difficult to see, but it will be see-through all the way. So that's really good. So that's a little preview of the teen space. And we got really great feedback on that. And so we're moving forward. What you don't see right now is any of the lighting. We're working on lighting now. It's going to be, it's really funky. If you want to open up the design documents, the actual construction documents, you can see what we've sort of designed there. It's a little dry if you're not used to reading plans, but there's some zigzag lighting in here that'll be really fun. So does anyone have any ideas, thoughts, or questions on that?
I just wanted to, when we were closed for the pandemic. I mean, one of the projects that we worked on was a complete inventory of the teen space. So we know exactly how many books we have, how many items that we have to fit in that space. And we'll be giving those numbers to Mallory soon so that we're able to have the right amount of shelving there. So the fact that it's 3 high is great for sight, but we might be able to even reshape it a little bit more based on what we actually have for a collection.
Great.
I think it looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, I do too.
Great. All right. So children's space, excuse me. This is a little overwhelming, so I'm just going to sort of breeze through it. It's very bright. The theme of the theme of the children's room is sort of going off the theme that they have now, and which is a nature theme. They have some really great pieces of furniture that have like these little animal cutouts, and they've got really nice end panels on the stacks that have leaves on them. So we sort of wanted to push that because we want to reuse that furniture as much as possible because it's pretty new and it's in really great shape, and wherever we can save money would be great. So we're going to push that theme, and the idea was like flora and nature and leaves, and in specific like nature walks and lily pads. So the idea for this was sort of that boardwalk theme, and then there were little zones off of the boardwalk theme. So when you come into the children's room, we've got a resilient floor, which is for that wet zone that was really critical to have. There's a couple of tables here. So right now you sort of have that wet zone that's in that in-between space between your stair and the entry of the children's room. So that will be right here in this space for a couple desks. And then you've got all these paths to take. Just to clarify, the little red dots with the arrows will not be on the floor plan. That was just, I realize that now that could look deceiving. I mean, I guess you could if you want to do like 6-foot distance dots, but anyway, so there's all these little zones, I guess. So you've got like the nonfiction zone, and then the boardwalk leads you right into where the staff members are, and then into the program room. And then we've going around Spike's area and all of like the new book and computers and media. This will be like a hotspot zone for like people that want to kind of grab and go. And then you're going around into like this really nice like seating area. And then we've got the fiction area up in the upper right hand corner here. So something we wanted to point out was this will have a lot of that nature theme, which is where the boardwalk comes in. And then when you come into the program room, we thought of that as like sort of like this water area with these lily pads. And so we use the flooring to separate out the children's activity zone, which is crafts, versus like the sitting area and like having kids and like this little kid sitting on a a lily pad. So that was the inspiration for like all these lily pads. This is where story time would be sitting here. So that's the floor finish plan, and this is a mix of resilient and carpet flooring. And then I wanted to talk briefly about the ceiling. So again, a little bit of a board just explaining our thoughts and ideas. We wanted it to be really organic lighting and sort of fun shape. So we've got some ceiling clouds that we're going to make ourselves. By make ourselves, I mean just draw and have somebody make. It's not going to be like an acoustic ceiling off of the bench thing. It's going to be a custom piece. And then we've got some of these have been nixed, but we have other lights that we like, and these will just be pendant lights. They were a little bit too fairy-like, so we're getting rid of those, but ideally just having these little pendants in the reading area, and then some of this geometric pod-like lighting instead of linear lighting, and then these organic hanging lights here, and then we're calling these like firefly lights in the preschool area. So when you look at the ceiling plan, this is sort of how it all comes together. We've got the ceiling plan that has that wood ceiling at the underside of the actual curtain wall and main entry, and then that turns into sort of an underwater theme here with the sort of like water ripples, and we're even proposed blue ACT ceiling, which was really a hit. So this will have like a very lightly tinted blue ceiling here to feel like that underwater nature theme, and then you sort of filter into the fiction area of the stacks with some more regularized lighting with some zones, hotspot zones, and then you're in the children's preschool area where that water zone brings you into that firefly little lighting zone here. And then in the children's room where we had the pendants previously, we're updating this to have a little bit more of regularized lighting with some fancy pendants here. So that's sort of that nature theme and concept right now, motif for the children's. We're still working on it. We've gotten feedback from the children's librarian, but those are probably, and the stair, which I didn't show you an image of because it got marked up so much, and we're still working on it. But and this,
okay.
I'm sorry.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Right. It's a really cool stair. It's such a small group. I feel like showing you guys because it's so cool. They're very modern, very minor tree. I'm just going to show you quickly if you want to see. It's so cute. I love it. It has like this bench in it, which is really cool, in my opinion. All right, here we go.
Mallory, tell us how you really feel.
Oh, I love it. This is going to be like my stair. I'm just going to go live here. All right. Okay, so ignore the red markups, but this is a view from the elevator of the stair. And what you see here is sort of like there's a glass railing that comes down so that it doesn't impede the curtain wall that you've got here on the right-hand side. And then we'll have a mix of wood and bluestone treads here. The bluestone tread is really great for durability. And it'll be really slip resistant. And then instead of these cascading stairs, what we've done is sort of just had one stair that wraps around and it actually turns into a bench for some of tables and seats beyond there. And I know it doesn't jump out at you, but this is really great in the sense that because we have this bench and this back seating, you don't need a cane rail that you often see in like these floating stairs. I don't know if you know what that looks like, but it just pretty much prevents people from hitting their head on the underside of the stair. So this is a really like disguised way of doing that, and really integrated into not only the first floor, but you can see, if you can see through the glass here, it extends from the courtyard, and it's the same stair, and it's at the same level, each tread, which was very hard to convince the civil engineer to do. They only like to do things on whole numbers, but we did that, so that's good.
Mallory.
No, 5.
Mallory, a question here.
No mocking civil engineers. I know we have at least one on the call.
You're right.
Not their fault, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom Katsunis.
So one question here. You're technically meeting the requirements of the code, but I just wonder how people are going to feel about it. By not creating the wraparound stair, you have a 21-inch drop off.
By not creating this is a 21-inch seat. Oh,
But
right here, 21-inch drop off.
Right.
That would be a bench.
But
Yeah.
you can walk on it. So see where your hand is? So I come down the stairs, right? Now bring your hand closer to the front of the step, right there.
Right there.
I can continue to walk on that surface. As I walk down the stairs,
I think you may
And
have
I-
to consider a rail there.
turn the corner.
Okay, all right. I know what to do. We just push this back. I have room to push this back. So
You
I'll
don't
make
have
it so
to
you
solve it
can't
right
walk
now.
on it. You're making me nervous, Tom. That's a very good point, though.
Yeah. Well, you have time to solve it, Mallory. Hey, Mallory, do you want to jump ahead to do you want to move on to the schedule, or were there other design highlights you wanted to talk about? Schedule update. There you go.
That's it. Okay, schedule update. So that was the whole little preview of design, where we're at. I hope that was exciting. Schedule update. It typically takes about 4 months for construction documents. So I've spoken with Alicia about this, and we're hoping to get documents done by mid-November. And we're hoping to send out a 75% construction document set for the last estimate check. And so I say we're targeting November 15th, but that may or may not shift depending on how that 75% estimate comes back. So ideally we're on budget, and then we can just charge ahead with the rest of the documents. But I explained to Alicia earlier, typically in a public bid job, you send out documents, you're done with documents, then you send them out to bid like immediately the next day. And then you have at least 50 to 100 different eyes looking at it, from contractors to subcontractors, everyone. And then they sort of like fire you with questions, and you sort of have to answer these questions in a timely manner, and you send out addenda. Because we aren't going to bid right away, and these drawings are going on the shelf, we won't have that addenda period right now. So LLB had asked CHA for like a little bit of an extension by going to mid-November, so that we can really make sure that all of these documents are tight enough that it's going to be seen by enough people, and that when we do have an addenda, which wouldn't be for a year from now, it would be less severe than some projects would typically see, because we've sort of tried to tighten everything up as much as we can. So that's the goal. As far as the 75% CD set, when that's due, I do need to check with my engineers, but I'm hoping that sometime, I think that puts us in August. No, July, August. No, you're right. August, September. Let me do the real math.
There you go.
I was supposed to do that for today, but that it's the ultimate goal, that by mid-November we're done, wrapped up, and there's only going to be like 5% open. You know, we get to 95% CDs and then put it down.
Does that sound agreeable to everyone? And their additional time, they're not seeking additional fee for that. They're just asking for some additional time, which we got time. It's fine. If they wanted a little bit more of their time, you know, dotting I's and crossing T's, I'm all in favor of it.
Sounds
Me
fun.
too.
Yep.
Great.
Just makes a better product in the end.
Absolutely.
So that's the schedule update, and we'll just be working with the subcommittee and Margaret on refining some of these spaces. We do have a ways to go. You know, one thing we can even talk about, which we, you know, because we have time and we typically don't do, and maybe this isn't a conversation for today and does not have to be decided today, but we could you know, do some FF&E meetings to get sort of all of those items out of the way before we even go to bid and everything's decided upon. Typically, you know, we do the FF&E meetings picking, and by that I mean furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Right.
I mean picking specifically the carpet, specifically the paint, specifically the furniture. That typically happens during the start of construction. So we would give the contractor a plug of like, we want a shaw carpet here versus marmoleum resilient here. But we actually have the time to have those meetings and get everything into the documents.
Well, one thing is, because it's public bid, we're not allowed to say, I want a shaw carpet and this
That's
thing. You
true.
have to,
Yep.
you have to give them a quality and a standard to meet, and you give them 3 manufacturers and suggestions, but there are no guarantees on things like that. So I think we can select a palette. We can probably put some pins in some, you know, materials of things that you would like. But seeing as we're not totally sure how long we'll be on hold, I suspect a year. Sometimes carpets go out of, carpet especially comes in and out. They discontinue carpets pretty readily. Maybe we can start some furniture conversations. Again, I'm hesitant about if things should go out of fabrication. I'd kind of rather focus on the quality of the documents and maybe less focus on FF&E, but
yeah, no, I should have clarified the FF&E would be after the construction stock, after that 4-month period of focusing on that.
That makes sense.
I mean,
but-
we,
Yeah.
Well, we want to
Okay.
make sure the right materials are in the spec, obviously, but after that,
Right.
the FF&E stuff is we can spend some time picking, and we can also make the call at that time because we may or may not see a glimmer from City Hall. We don't know. I mean, we don't know.
I would think that probably 6 months before we are going out to bid, we would know when we're going out to bid. So we'd have a 6-month window based on, if this is all budget driven, which it is, of course. So we would know that kind of that time frame in advance. So that's when we could then start moving on the FF&E.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit, Tom or Alicia, about the cost implications of waiting beyond the date that you're thinking, which is September of 2021, and what you anticipate cost-wise if we wait longer than that?
So that is an impossible answer to give right now, Margaret, because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's just so difficult. And even with our estimating discussion and reconciliation together, we kind of went off on a little squirrel path talking about what's going to happen with escalation. As crazy as it sounds, and just because this, well, I'm not even going to say it. We just don't know.
Don't know. Yeah.
It's just way too difficult to predict where we could be.
Okay.
The irony is, if
Under normal circumstances, you're looking, between 3 and 4% escalation annually. That's normal. We just can't predict right now.
Okay.
Nothing normal.
Yeah.
nope, it's nothing normal.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. The irony is, if we bid right now, anecdotally, the bids would be in our favor right now, but
Mhm.
a year from now, who knows? Just don't know. So in 2 years from now, we got to solve COVID, and then we'll get everything back on the rails, and we can answer these questions with a little bit more predictability.
Okay.
It is horrible and so insane. With the right now, we had a project come in more than $2 million under budget, and it was a $20 million job, and nobody could expect that,
Nope.
Right.
Certainly not a year ago. No way.
No.
A year, no way.
So it's hard, but it's very strange. But we'll deal with this, and again, hopefully, they're gonna be setting the budget goes June to June, I think, right? So as we turn into 2021 and they start thinking about the next year, maybe they can start to see the budget and we'll have an inclination, but there's a lot of crooked corners between now and then. So we'll just have to wait to hear when the mayor's office is feeling a little more confident about the finances in the city, which none of us can predict, and certainly not the mayor.
Still paying my taxes.
I'm sorry?
I'm still paying my taxes.
Yeah.
Dennis.
That's great.
Dennis is on.
But it's it's strange times we're in for sure.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, just because I feel like I would be doing John Galoni proud right now, is that estimate has a generator built in to that estimate. It's not.
That is true.
Isn't that is, I feel like is very exciting news, you guys.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Woo!
Oh, that's good.
He'd be pleased.
Margaret, I got in quite a bit late. I'm sorry about that. But are you going to publish the estimate?
The estimate is in the Dropbox for whoever asked. I can resend that Dropbox out if you'd like.
Okay.
But it's in the Dropbox for if you want to look at it.
Is there another location where you're going to set up a set of drawings?
Other than the Dropbox?
Yes.
Mallory's gonna send a set of paper drawings to Margaret. We can have her send 2 sets of drawings if that's helpful for some
Well,
for
I'll come
people
to the
to
library and look at them.
Okay. If that's all right with Margaret, it's all right with me.
I'll wear a mask.
All right, Dennis. You say so.
Give it a couple days. Give it a couple days for the drawings to get there. So probably call Margaret before you show up, but that's probably a good plan. So Mallory, you're on that, right? Yes.
Give Mallory a couple of days. Yeah.
Thanks, Mallory.
So Alicia, make sure that you add Dennis to the meeting minutes as present.
Yes.
And Margaret, you're not fully open yet, correct?
Oh, no, we're not open at all.
Right.
To the public. Yeah.
Margaret, can I just ask not exactly a building committee question, but is there any thinking right now to just when the library reopens, just to wait until you are in the Walker building and then reopen then?
No, I think that'll be too far into the future. I mean, I think the plan is to reopen us in our current facility. I don't know. I have not heard any updates about when that will be.
Aren't you technically allowed to open under phase 3?
Oh, Alicia.
Sorry.
That is so complicated.
It is. It's a tough.
We're offering curbside right now, but
That's
the
great.
next step is definitely, takes a lot of coordination, and we don't have any indication from the mayor's office yet about when that will be. So yeah, I mean, we're offering services, but I'm in regular contact with all the urban library directors in the state, and it's tricky. It's very tricky.
No, for sure.
So, yeah.
Samantha, to answer your question, we don't want to vacate the existing library building until we're ready to demolish / construct.
Okay, that makes
Keep
sense.
the building active.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And the Walker building's just looking great. I mean, the facilities and DPW folks are doing an amazing job. So we have a good space to move into, but obviously we have a lot of planning to do around it that we've kind of just put on hold.
Right.
It's waiting for you.
Yeah, shiny.
Good.
Which is a great place for the city to be. It's a tremendous place.
Yep.
I
We're all
said that
teed up.
before, but to
we're
have
teed
a
up for
facility
success.
that you can move into and operate, basically operate out of, and not just be a little storefront.
Right.
Drop off and pick up only is a huge, huge benefit.
Yeah.
Have you got the shelving yet, Margaret? Have we got shelving for that yet or no?
We're waiting for Weymouth shelving.
Yeah. I
sorry?
just didn't know if we had it yet, that's all.
No, they're going to be opening, I think, in September, and their shelving will be passed on to us so that we can use it in the Walker building. It's orange, so, but I said, who cares? It's free.
Exactly.
Yep. A little color in the Walker building will be nice,
Right.
even if it's
Marlboro
orange.
High Orange, come on.
There
Yep.
you go, Angie.
Right.
I should have put those two together. You're right. Go Panthers.
Someone's thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
baby.
Does anybody have any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Will that estimate be on the Dropbox tomorrow?
It's on there right now. I can
Okay,
send
great.
you.
We're on budget, Dennis.
That's
That's
the bottom
good
line,
news.
and it's on budget.
That's a good sound.
It is. It is. I agree. I wonder if this. I think that's it.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 You in favor, Mark?
I am.
All right, excellent. All right,
Good night,
I'm
everybody.
waving.
I'm waving too. Bye.
Good
Bye.
night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Good night.